In this video, I will show you how we made almost $13,000 in cash collected and also booked over 50 ascension calls in just 7 days with the profile funnel and by running a simple webinar and also by guru maxing the fuck out on IG. And we did it with only 18k followers, very top of the funnel traffic, and most of those people were pretty much glue eaters. So let's get right into it. So let's go into psychographics of our audience, and I will not even this picture can describe the psychographics of our audience pretty well, and I won't go into detail because even if I did, it wouldn't be really applicable for your business because everyone has different ICP and shit like this. But basically there are driving forces behind every human, and it is your job to figure out what's actually driving your audience. And for our audience, it was very status driven, wanting social approval and things that come with being rich, and they basically think that every single problem in their life will just go away once they get rich enough, and the things that displayed to them were basically cars, lifestyle, and just flexing, and therefore we decided to guru max the fuck out of them. And every single picture on our story sequence, every single email, and every single word in our marketing was basically playing into their desire of cars, lifestyle, and the big word of financial freedom. And that's basically the big problem with marketing in 2026. That's because everyone listens to the same bullshit, like markets are changing, customer sophistication is going up, and that you should go very educational and hormosiest in order to convert. And even though it's partially true, your audience probably isn't driven by that. And if your content was built solely upon lifestyle marketing and guru maxing, then you need to play by the rules of the game and just use it to your advantage. And if you, for example, go very Hormozy-esque in your marketing, but your whole fucking content is based on you flexing a SVJ in Miami, then you're probably gonna have shit results because there's an incongruency in your audience and in what they actually want. So you need to just understand your ICP, look at what works in your content, what works for you, and just use it to your advantage. And I won't even go into detail because it's simply a waste of time, and you need to understand what works for you and not what worked for us in terms of the ICP. And now we can get into the more interesting stuff, which is basically the offer. And our offer was to generate 10k PLN, so about $2,700 in 30 days with e-commerce through the platform method that we invented out of the fucking sky, and it was guaranteed. The price of this offer was about $300 for the launch. It was more of a low ticket product because, as I've said, most of our audience was just fucking glue eaters without money. And that's why we introduced this offer, and we also introduced an ascension system, but we'll talk about that more later. And the important thing that a lot of people miss is the congruency between the offer and between what's in the webinar. And basically the offer should complement what's in the webinar, and it should mean something entirely different. So framing of our webinar was to make 10k a month with e-commerce through the platform method, and our offer was to do the same thing but just within a month, and it was a contract-based guarantee, so it was completely guaranteed for them. And if you, for example, would make marketing for a BizUp webinar and you would try to sell a fucking fitness offer, it just wouldn't work no matter how extreme the example would be. That's what a lot of people are doing in their webinar funnels, and then they wonder why they aren't converting. So of course we had a guarantee, and it's of course tied into the psychographics. So what I see a lot of people are doing nowadays with their marketing is that they're using this angle of, oh bro, there is no fucking guarantees in life, you could die tomorrow, and therefore we don't have a guarantee. But it's literally so fucking retarded, because there is a guarantee, and the guarantee is that you will make 10k PLN in a fucking month with our offer. And there is a guarantee, and I don't give a shit if you die tomorrow. If you live for the next 30 days, you will make 10k. And of course there are rules, and in the contract there is said that they have to do like 3 to 4 hours of work a day, because it's just protecting us from shitty chargebacks from people who bought and they didn't even fucking list out a single product. We also introduced some fucking Klarna maxing, so basically a fucking homeless person could buy this program if he really wanted to, because we gave a financing option of $6 a month for 50 months, and sadly nobody took it because it would be pretty funny, but it's very good no matter what you're selling. If someone wants to buy your product, then he should be able to, no matter how little cash he has up front. And of course, with Klarna, you just get paid in full anyway, so who gives a fuck? And from the ascension from low ticket to high ticket, we basically used this as kind of a bonus, because we basically said, join the program, put in the work, make some money, and then we're offering a free consultation after 30 days of being in the program, where we will basically give you a game plan, how you can scale it even further. And we basically already have the game plan prepared, which is brilliant, and it's just buy our fucking high ticket program with the money you made. So yeah, we are basically making people rich, so they make us richer after that. And now let's get into the webinar. So for the traffic, we used 3 platforms, which was Instagram, YouTube, and email. For the YouTube, we just posted a organic VSL because we had like 2,000 subs. So yeah, it was just pretty good to do, even though a lot of our signups didn't come from YouTube. For Instagram, we basically spammed story sequences and reels, and we also had daily emails, and we just directed them into an opt-in page, then into thank you page, and I will walk you through the reminders that we had later on. And basically the story sequence structure that we had was hook, pattern interrupt, pain agitation or future pacing dream outcome, and just CTA and FOMO. It wasn't anything complicated, and every story sequence was like basically 2 to 3 slides long, because it would be a waste of fucking time, and it would actually perform worse if we introduced like this longer story sequences where we basically explain to them step by step what's gonna happen on the webinar, but it's basically some free shit that they need to claim, so there's literally no point in making it even longer than it needs to be. So for the reels, basically we just posted a lot of top of the funnel reels. We didn't post any middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel, because it's basically fucking useless when you are doing like organic launch and you are trying to get as much traffic as possible, especially with the webinar funnel, because they are basically, those leads are getting warmed up throughout the presentation before the pitch. So it would just be a waste of fucking time to do some like Hormozy-esque educational reels on the front end. And as we said, it's a brain-dead fucking traffic based off fucking glue eaters. So it was no point in doing that. And for the email structure, and emails are literally barbecue chicken fucking laydown, and it's really not that deep. If you are pretty good at copywriting, then you should get tons of signups from them. And our list wasn't even one that was particularly engaged or warmed up yet. We were still having such like 40 to 50% open rate and 10% click-through rate. And of course, the stats are getting worse and worse with each email that's sent, since more and more people are signing up and they basically don't give a shit after they sign up. And you might have noticed it yourself when you, for example, bought a course and you were opening emails from the person that you bought like 24/7, every single email was open, but then you just bought the course and you knew that every single answer is pretty much just in the course itself, and there's no point in reading those emails. So for the pre-webinar reminders, we basically had like a confirmation email, we had an email a day before, we had an email in the morning of the webinar, 1 hour before, 15 minutes before at the start, 15 minutes in, and 45 minutes in just before the pitch. And we also did the same thing with story sequences, but there was a little bit less of them. So it was 1 day before, it was morning of, 1 hour before, and when we basically started. For the webinar, we just basically used the perfect webinar script from Russell Brunson. And yeah, we had like 45% show rate to the Webby, and we had 8% conversion rates, and we had like 630 signups with just 18k followers. So it's not the greatest, it's not the best, and basically we didn't run any paid ads, so it was 100% organic. For post-webinar, we just did a story sequence and sent 1 or 2 emails to watch the replay. And yeah, it's literally not that deep. It's not fucking rocket science to do a story sequence or send some emails. And basically on the day of webinar, we collected around $4,000 in cash. So yeah, now we can get into the launch. So this was our sales page. It's really fucking good. It's not even ClickFunnels or some shit. We had a guy, his name is Piotrek, that basically coded this shit up from the ground up. So it's very professional looking. And there wasn't this mentoring button, and it was basically looking like this. There's a VSL, it's like 15 to 18 minutes long, so it's on the longer side. But as I've said, we are dealing with like not very warm traffic, and therefore we introduced a slightly longer VSL. There was also a bunch of FOMO that is missing there, because I pretty much just took the screenshots after the launch, but there were countdowns and shit like this that basically just introduced a lot of FOMO on this site. And launching your products is basically like being in a casino. And we basically said fuck it, and we're putting it all on green, which is the last day of our launch, and we trust that we will generate most of our revenue there. Because we had some very good price anchors. On the webinar, it basically costed 900 PLN, so 1 PLN, 1 USD is like, okay, I will put it there, 1 USD is like 3.6 PLN. And on the webinar, the product costed like 897 PLN. On launch week, it costed about 1,000, and post-launch, it costed 1,500 PLN. So it was 50% increase. So the FOMO to buy it in the launch week was basically huge. On launch day, as I've said, we just did a story sequence and we did a webinar replay. And on launch day, from 2 to 6, we basically played casino, and we didn't do any fucking card CTAs, we didn't do any FOMO, and what we did is we basically had shit ton of social proof. So we DM'd every single fucking person that bought our program, and we asked them for the first impression of it. And of course the program was fucking juicy and overpacked with value, so they were very keen on giving us like very positive reviews about it. And we kinda looked like this guy in the DMs, but fuck it. And this is how our story sequences were looking like. So basically on this story, there was a Q&A, and we did like a shit ton of objection handling on day 6. So we basically answered every single question that they had on the stories, but this is the one that we did like maybe 4 days in. So there's basically a shit ton of social proof, and there are also results of what people were able to achieve within their first 30 days of starting. So some people had even 5.5 times bigger results than they are guaranteed to make. So yeah, it worked really well, and we basically like printed so fucking much just of those stories, but we still put all our eggs in one basket, which is basically on the last day, and we just basically utilized the herd effect as well as we could have utilized it. And yeah, on launch day 7 we just did a shit ton of FOMO. So we said like over 70 people already joined, and there was a countdown, and there was a countdown until when the price increased. And we also were sending emails with each story sequence. There was another story sequence with shit ton of FOMO at 3 p.m. There was a story at 8 p.m. with shit ton of FOMO, and also there was an email. And also there was a story at 10 p.m. with shit ton of FOMO, and also there was an email. And there was 1 hour before the price increased, there was also a story that basically introduced even more FOMO with an email. And yeah, it worked so fucking well, because in the last day we basically like generated $6,000 just within the 12 hours of the launch, and people were literally begging us in the DMs 2 minutes after the launch that we let them buy at the discounted price. So it actually worked super well for us, and it worked better than even I expected. But yeah, we still have over 50 calls to jump on to sell our high-ticket products. So even though the number like $13,000 in a week is not actually that fucking huge, but we are gonna probably make 3 times more than that just from those costs. So this launch did really well, and you basically can just copy the shit. It's literally not that deep, and you probably can make shit like this in your account as well, because if you don't have an offer but you maybe have some sort of following, you are doing biz for a while, and yeah, you can just make some fucking money with this. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching, and see you.